What's up, everybody? This is Bobby D here. Bobby D here with another podcast and talking with another Georgia indie wrestler, a person that I consider a really good friend as well. And I also paid him $100 to come on this podcast because, he doesn't work for free, brother. So we're going to bring him here in just a second. Let's see. Let me do my intro real quick. And
3, 2, 1.
that's right, folks. You heard it correctly. I paid this guy $100 out of my own money, because I don't pay anybody anything usually, but this guy is a special guy. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Luka Daniels to the program. Luka, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, brother. I appreciate the $100, brother. I really needed the money, brother, because I'm going to AEW tonight, brother. So that just paid for my AEW, brother.
That paid for AEW, brother. I mean, it is tonight, isn't it? It seems like they didn't cancel, but we had to, we're filming this on what, Snowpocalypse 2025.
Saturday.
And we're all snowed in. So what better time than to come on and talk to each other? But I cannot believe that they haven't canceled yet.
Well, I live 30 minutes. I live 30 minutes from the arena. There's like no snow here. I don't know how Habersham is, but over here, like we just got a little flex left, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because I mean, it's white. It's white as everything outside right now. I mean, the snow is starting to melt a little bit, but yesterday, I mean, we couldn't even get out. I mean, Annie and I, we went and tried to build a snowman, but it was one of those things where it started. It was snowing, and then it transitioned to ice. And that hurt, trying to pack that ice in. It started hurting my hands. So I don't know. I just, it's not like when I was a kid, when we were kids, and it's, you want to stay outside and play in the snow all day. I go out there for 5 minutes and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to come back into, 78-degree weather.
Yeah, we had no shortage in New York of snow. I can tell you that much. It snowed about 3 months out of the year, every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I see a lot of stuff on Facebook as far as, everybody's like, oh, I prefer the 98 degrees over 28 degrees. I'm telling you, I kind of like the snow. Because it slows me down. It causes me to not have to worry about so much stuff. Like, we had a show that we're filming today. Today was the day we were supposed to have our OSWA show. You were going to make your big return. And, but as much as I wanted to put on the show, I'm just kind of enjoying, not really doing much,
Yeah, it sucked. I was looking forward to it today too, but it is what it is. There's always
and
next time.
And this was your big comeback too, because we had promoted and advertised because you got injured a little while back and you were rehabbing. I was following some of your videos and stuff about what exactly happened. Like, how'd you get hurt?
Oh, well, I tore my ACL, I tore my MCL, and I tore my meniscus all in one shot.
Oh, wow.
I had a partial tear that I knew about already, but I just kind of let it go. And it was just me and Boulevard wrestling in Royston, and I literally just slipped. Like, I slipped on the apron, and I fell down off the ring, because we were going to do a cutoff spot. So I was on the outside. I grabbed his arms and pulled him into the rope to cut him off, and I was just going to jump down and slide back in the ring. And I pushed him off, and I just slipped on the side, and I hear like paper ripping. I'm like, dang, dude, somebody's doing homework at 10:30 at night in Royston. So I get up and I fall right back down. I'm like, oh, that wasn't paper. That was my knee. And I was hurt. I was hoping it was just like a messed up kneecap, but after some MRIs, the doctor told me it was all that. I was like, well, this is gonna suck.
Oh yeah, yeah. And how long has that been since?
The injury happened right at the last week in July, and then I had surgery 2 weeks after on the 15th of August, and then I had another one in November just to kind of clear up some gook stuff from the first surgery. And I'm pretty much good now. I'm clear to do almost anything I want. I just got to get my quad muscles back so I don't risk another re-tear, and that's about it.
Oh yeah, yeah, knees are one of those things as you get older. They start they're like the first thing to go because it's something that we use a lot and we don't even know, and until we get older. I remember doing MMA. I tore my meniscus. Definitely not as bad as your injury, but I remember somebody did like a grappling leg lock, and I remember, like you said, very similar. I heard something, and I think that was a good way of putting it. It was kind of like a tear, like kind of it you think, okay, what's going on, and then you realize, oh crap, I can't really put much weight or anything. I mean, that was the first time that really I something that caused me about 4 or 5 months to get back, and it was just a meniscus tear.
Yeah, those are rough. That's the ones that's holding me back from this surgery. Because if I just had ACL and MCL, I would have been back in 6 months, no problem. But the
Yeah,
meniscus sent me back a few weeks. I'm still on track to get back at 6 months, anyways. So like February 15th will be 6 months at that point, and I'm ready, pretty much ready at this point. I'm gonna give it some more time now, anyway, since OSWA is not gonna be running. But
yeah,
I'm pretty much there, but man, I'm telling you, it sucks. I didn't realize how bad I needed my foot until like 2 days after, because I went to the gym before I even knew like how bad their injury was. I was like, well, crap, I'm still work out. So I was doing like
yeah,
curls and like I couldn't even hold the dumbbells because my foot just kept giving out. I'm like, holy cow, this is bad.
yeah. And you never know how bad it is until you start assessing it and stuff. Because as wrestlers, you don't want to stop. You don't want to slow down. I mean, because the way I've always looked at it, anything like this, like wrestling, MMA, combative sports, if you go down, there's 10 other people ready to take that
Yep.
spot, and so you can't, um, yeah, you can't stop. And sometimes your body just has to tell you, sometimes it's just out of your control. But yeah, we always think we're indestructible, but we're really not.
It's crazy because so I got hurt and then I took the next weekend off because crap, I couldn't walk, and that was the same weekend I found out I was gonna need surgery. So after I got hurt initially, I still wrestled Bully and finished the match. But we cut that off quick. But then we had a tag match directly after. So I was still in the ring for 20 minutes, just limping around and doing whatever I could. Next
Hmm.
week, I took off to recover. Hopefully, whatever it was. And then I did a ladder match at Royston the week before my surgery, and then the night after, I went to Rest America, and we did a Royal Rumble. So I was still out there until they literally had me under the knife.
Wow. But
We
did it?
what was that?
No, I was going to ask, how difficult was it to work through that? Like you said, you kept wrestling. Do you think that hurt you a little more or helped
Oh, I
you? Or
definitely think it played in a little bit more in my recovery too. It hurt like crap. I ain't gonna lie. Like the ladder match, like I was fine doing it because I mean I really didn't have to do much in the match. But there was points where like I watched the match over, and I could see myself standing because like I couldn't do what I would normally do. Like I would see somebody climbing the ladder, and instead of being able to like run or cut them off right away, I'm just standing there like a dummy. I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, well, it is what it is. Then the
yeah,
next night, I spent most of the match just hiding under the ring. We did like the little Jerry Lawler thing where he just hid under the ring for most of the match. But I was
yeah,
still bumping at the start, so I was good to go. I was bumping 8 weeks after my surgery.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been kind of following everything. Of course, we're friends on social media, so it's easy to see. But I guess, what kind of response have you gotten from people? Has it been positive, negative?
You
Because I
know,
know it's wrestling, so
yeah, it's wrestling. Most people, like my real wrestling friends, have kind of kept checked in with me and all, and like Royston has checked in with me. I'm still at Royston every week. My Deep South people check in on me. Rest America checks in on me still, but I mean, really, other than that, I don't hear from much. Like as far as like just casual coworkers in wrestling, but I mean, everybody that I've spoken to has made sure I was okay, and nobody really ragdolled me besides maybe two people or three. But I don't. I mean, it is what it is.
there's always a few, right? It's always
Yeah,
a few.
somebody's always hoping you go down.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, that seems to be the mentality in Georgia wrestling, especially because you know I. I mean, I know people will be like, "Well, Bobby, you never wrestled anywhere. You're just a local guy, whatever." But I've wrestled in a couple of different states. But I mean, it seems like Georgia wrestling. Something I talked with Curtis on the last podcast. We talked to Curtis is about how different Georgia wrestling really is in terms of one thing that I always felt like when I first got into the business was I felt like everybody wants to see you fail. No matter what,
Yes.
99%
Yep.
of the people want to see you fail, and they'll do everything they can to try to get you to fail. And then all of a sudden the switch just flips, and all of a sudden they're your best friend. And that's weird to me. I don't know.
I'm a
It's
victim of
just,
it.
yeah, yeah. I think we all have been. Um, It's like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I'm sure there's a couple people watching this that are probably waiting for this, but uh, I want to talk about. I don't really know a lot about Money Mason Andrews.
Right.
Educate me on him because he came onto the scene. He's a young kid. I mean, obviously, but he seems to be a very passionate wrestling fan, and I've kind of observed his rise into the Georgia indie wrestling scene. And of course, I think he is now in that transitional where I feel like people want to see him fail. But what is his story? You probably
Well,
know him a lot better than I do.
so the failing thing on him, I don't think anybody wants him to fail. I think they hate that they're aligned with me now because nobody said a peep about him until I got into the picture. So I think that's where that plays into. But I mean,
Yeah.
crap, the kid's 8 years old, man. Like he's actually hustling. He's doing more than the wrestlers are. He's cutting promos. His dad and him are advertising every day on Facebook. Like they're actually doing stuff on Facebook that wrestlers should be doing, and they don't.
Yes.
Like, I don't care if he's 8, man. Like, if he wants to have fun, screw it, have fun. He found his way in. I mean, it's hard to get in as an adult, let alone a child. And
Yeah.
they found a way in. They got a way in. I mean, he's ring announced at shows. I saw that. Nobody said a peep. I think he refereed a match somewhere. Nobody said. I mean, the dude won the Royal Rumble. Like, nobody said anything until I started becoming his little leader in the group.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they actually asked me if I wanted to be part of their group, and I was like, screw it. It's
yeah.
20 minutes from my house. Why not?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
Mason and Alex are my friends too. Like they've been at my wedding. They're not just fans to me. So like I actually consider the friend. If he's 8, calling him a friend, but he's part of my crew. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I think I don't want to like blow up their storyline, but the storyline idea they had at first, I was just like, oh, this is stupid. I'm like, let's not turn the kid, fully heel. Let's use me as the jerk and be like, I'll tell Mason, I'll whisper things in his ear and he'll, be the boss man that he is. And it'll look like, like in the movies, you have the angel and then you have the devil in one ear. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what
Yeah.
I am to Mason. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but as I'm getting into it more and more, he doesn't realize what he's doing is wrong anymore. And we have like a blow off for it in the spring. So like, I was gonna do a spot where you have this team and you have another team, and whoever wins gets Mason as their boss, something like that. But it wasn't just gonna be a full blown thing where the kid turns heel and now he's this big bad 8-year-old child that runs the world.
Yeah.
But people don't
Well,
let it
I
play
think
out.
Yeah, I think, we live in a world now, and I think a lot of art, wrestling, movies, stuff, it imitates, where we are in 2025. And I really think we're in an era that not everybody is full blown bad guy, not everybody's a full blown good guy. And I think there is so many ways and so many avenues you could take in the storyline, like you just said. I just, I mean, I listen to, some opinions, good, bad, middle, whatever you want to call it. And what I got is in my creative brain, I kept thinking there's so many ways you can go with that. There's, like you just said, it's not black and white. It's, is he a bad guy? He looks like a bad guy, but it's, one thing it reminded me of was WrestleMania 14 with Mike Tyson. When he come on the scene and him and Stone Cold kind of had their feud, me as a teenager, I was thinking, okay, how are they going to do that? Because, Mike Tyson's the baddest man on the planet. Stone Cold is storyline, the baddest man on the planet. And what are they going to do? Were they going to put him in a steel cage first blood match or something?
Yeah,
I
let's have the
mean,
8-year-old jump off the cage.
yeah, there you go. And I remembered that, and then when Tyson joined DX, you think, whoa, okay, are they going all in on this? And then, of course, in the end, really nothing happened, but I felt like it was okay, in my opinion. It did what it needed to do. It got Tyson in there, got eyes on the WWF, and Stone Cold got to start his era as the champion. And I don't think I hear anybody ever complain going, well, they never blew off that match. They never blew off, they didn't do like a spit swapping first blood, evening gown cage match with the top on it or something.
They should have done a Punjabi prison match. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, the Punjabi prison match. My God, when I watched those matches, I never could figure out what was going on because there's so much you can't
There's
see.
like 3 cages in one.
Uh-huh. But yeah, like back to what I was talking, like with Mason. One thing that I really respect about the kid and his family is the fact that he promotes. It's something for 13 years I have griped and complained and griped some more. You got to sell yourself, and he's doing it, and all of a sudden he's on the radar. But I feel like what I meant, he's in that transition now. I think in wrestling, you have to be hated first, and then you make it and pay your dues, then everybody loves you, you know. But one thing that really caught my eyes when I was at the Nerd U December show, I remember I like this thing right here. I think this is the coolest thing
Is that his book? I
because
can't
it's
see it too well.
it's the Mason Wrestling
Oh yeah, the
Top
top
100.
100. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this thing is, something I used to like thinking about doing, the graphic, the artwork and stuff. And I've read it a couple times now, and it's actually very well put together. And again, if workers would just do half of this,
You can't even
then
get them to cut a promo. Like you're just
exactly.
asking too much.
Yeah, it is. And this kid's making, because this stuff, I'm sure he had help doing it, but I mean, it's pretty well put together. I love this thing. This thing's one of my things over here that I have that I look at every once in a while. But like you said, I mean, you can't get wrestlers to do much of anything anymore. I mean, it's almost like they feel that they have the mentality of what are you doing for them? And it's to me, it's a give and take. Promoters, workers. Usually the workers are like, well, the promoter needs to do this, promoter needs to do that. And I've been in both spots before. I've been a promoter and I've been a worker, and I've seen both sides of it. And I feel like it needs to be as 50-50 as possible. Because I think without promoters, there's no workers.
Yep.
Without workers, there's no promoters. But I just feel like everybody's got the what can you do for me, brother? Mentality nowadays.
I want my 250, brother.
Yeah. Well, it's like Curtis. Curtis and I talked about, he said when him and Shane were promoting the show, people would beg to be on the show.
Oh my god,
Oh,
I
brother,
noticed. I
brother, I
see
want to
it.
be on the show. I want to be on the show. And then when you say it, well, I want $100.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is true. Shane sent me a few of these messages from guys. I'm like, what in the world? And when we had Georgia Outlaw Wrestling, people would beg and beg to work the show, and I'm like, all right, man, you can come. And then they're like, respectfully, my booking fee's $160. What, dude? You just asked me. What? Like, I don't even know who you are.
exactly.
Like, some of these
Well,
people are
that's
asking for way too much.
yes. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I know in the past whatever, past, future, present, whatever, that people are like, well, Bobby didn't pay me, or Bobby forced me to help set up and break down the ring. And I'm sitting there thinking, forced you to do what? Like, I didn't force you to do anything. Like you just said, they come to you. It's like, hey, I want, and I always thought that's what my trainer taught me was you got to get your foot in the door somehow. And I see it all the time. I see it all the time with all these older wrestlers that are mentors now that are vets.
Yeah.
They talk about, what you can do to get on a show, but it's almost like these guys would, instead of doing those things, they would rather just bitch and complain. And I never understood that. I'm a firm believer is I'll pay you what you're worth. If I know for a fact that if I book you on a show, or if I want you to be part of the show and you're going to bring 20 people, I'm going to look at that and go, this good person's bringing 20 people to the show.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, we
Seems
need
like
to, we need
Tim
to,
Coyote to me.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like those kind of things. But it seems like it always is nowadays. It's guys that I don't understand the training mentality nowadays, but I haven't been around trainers, and I haven't really been around training schools. So I don't know how it really works nowadays. Do they just say, you don't have to pay your dues, you just go get what you're worth, do your job and leave? I just don't get it anymore.
No, you're not wrong at all. I see a lot. Like my biggest thing is like I look at the locker rooms now I'll go to, and now that I'm not wrestling, like I can actually pay attention to people, and I'll see the way people carry themselves. I'm like, man, like this is me just a few years because I was a real jerk when I first started wrestling. I was a piece of crap. Like I ain't even gonna lie. It didn't take till maybe a year ago where I started kind of calming down and realizing, dang, this is all fake, man. Like who cares, you know? And then, the leg injury kind of set me straight too. But I watch guys and like they think they're so good. And I'm like, we're all in the same locker room at the end of the day. Like some of these guys have been wrestling in the same state for 5, 6 years, haven't left the state at all. And they're like, I'm too good to do this. They know how to reach me. Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it, and not just wrestling. Like I've seen it in a lot of different things. Like when I did MMA, it was the same way. A lot of these guys like, well, I could beat up that guy. Well, go beat him up.
Yeah,
Well,
go do it.
they need to like come to my level. And what what? And it's almost like people are too proud to try to take a chance and try to go out there and do something. Like you said, I mean, I've seen it too. I've seen guys will just be like, "Oh, I'm so and so." Who are you? And
I mean,
that's not me being trying to be insulting. It's just I really don't know. Like I had to put it in my phone when I meet somebody. I had to put their real name and their gimmick name because but these guys always expect you to be like, "You know who I am?" No,
no. And the funny thing
sorry.
is, if you so say they're a big deal in the one promotion they work in Georgia, right? So like I'll wrestle South Carolina, I'll wrestle Tennessee, Florida, and North Carolina here. So I wasn't always just in Georgia. But say you bring up one guy's name from Georgia and South Carolina, like, hey man, can you book this guy? He's really good. Who is that? Well, obviously they're not that big of a name if people just 100 miles down the road don't know who they are, you know.
Mhm.
So I always did it that way. I like to wrestle out of the state too, just so that way I was known in more places. But like guys were cool with just wrestling in 3, 4 promotions in Georgia every month and saying they're big stars and ragdolling everybody on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I've never, yeah. And I'll say this, like, I'm guilty, what you just said, I'm guilty of that. I never really got out of the Southeast, but I didn't start till I was 32 years old. And honest to goodness, my mentality when I started wrestling, I just wanted to have some fun. Now, and I said this in the Curtis interview. If NXT called me or Vince called me, I definitely pick up the phone. I mean, I'm not stupid, but
Sure, yeah, it's
like,
good money.
yeah, I'm not going to be like, you know where to find me, brother. No, I'm not going to do that. But I was realistic as well. I just wanted to have some. Plus, I started. I wanted to. We started the OSWA. It was kind of one of those things, and it just got, like you said, it just got people were like, "Well, Bob, you never get out," and I'm like, "But I don't really want to." I mean, if it happens, it happens because all the out of state bookings that I ever got, people did come to me, and I said, "Why not? Why not?" And did those things, and I had some fun. But again, I tried to be as realistic as I possibly could. But yeah, like you said, somebody who has the mentality of I want to make it right. I want to make it to that next level. Yeah, you can't do it locally, like you said, because people in South Carolina not going to know who you are. People in Florida not going to know who you are. And but that didn't stop them from believing their own hype.
It's just good to go out of state. Like for me, like I wanted to go out of state and meet different wrestlers because that's
Yeah,
how you start connecting to different shows. And it worked out for me. Like I had my first show in South Carolina was APW. That was just to get my foot in the door. Then I went
yeah,
to Royston, got my foot in the door there. Then I started working shows in Georgia more often. My first non like favor booking was with Cole Maccabee over in Union, South Carolina. Once I
yeah,
started working with him, like I saw my bookings just skyrocket. So I was like, all right, it paid off. All this, just showing up to any show I could has finally worked. So I just enjoy going to different states. So it gives me something to do too, instead of just seeing the same town over and over.
one thing that popped in my head just now when talking with what you just said is how did they treat you? Like like you said, like who was the guy you just said? I'm
Cole
sorry, I
Mackey,
just
he's one of the
yeah,
best bookers I've ever worked for. Like he's legit a friend too. So it's weird. I can go anywhere else outside of Georgia and I get treated great. And
yeah,
don't get me wrong, like Georgia, like promotions I work now, they're fine. Like Deep South treats me fine. Rest of America's obviously fine with me. Like my best friends are there. Royston, I mean, they've never turned a blind eye to me like the new manager. The old one, yeah, we we ain't gonna talk about
yeah,
that guy. But
yeah.
I mean, really, like the shows I work now, like I don't have any problems with. So that's the best way to put it. But I've had some shows, man, like I just got treated like garbage. Like I've been a
Mhm.
wrestler's core, all kinds of stuff, and it's bad.
Wrestler court, really?
Yeah, it was because of my wife. I brought her backstage once, and I got in trouble for. I'm like, she had a headache, man. It's either I leave early and get in trouble, or I bring her back and just keep her away from people. And it was a situation that probably should have never happened, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you hear stories about that stuff, like, I mean, I'm sure if anybody gets on YouTube and watches all these dirt sheet videos and all that, you hear about wrestlers court and you hear about how the boys govern everything. And so when you hear that, you're thinking,
Mine wasn't as
what happened?
bad though. My punishment was I had to watch the wrestling matches on the cards. So I was like, all right, I mean that's pretty cool. Just the whole
Yeah,
process of going to court, and I'm just like, geez, like this is really happening. But I ended up marrying my wife, so I mean it worked out for me at least.
exactly. Exactly. How does she feel about your, I'm sorry, I have to ask this. How does she feel about your wrestling and your career and stuff?
At first, oh my gosh, she was like shocked because like her dad likes watching wrestling, so they'd go watch wrestling here and there, and I mean she just watched WWE, and then she showed to these indie shows, and she used to come to Royston just to see me, and like she
Hmm.
actually started messaging me first, and I would never respond because the whole thing is you don't respond to the marks, brother. And then finally I
Yeah.
caved in. I was like, man, this girl's kind of hot. I'm just gonna message her back and see where it goes, and it went somewhere, but like the first few months we were together was rough on her because a lot of the wrestlers were mean to her and like they just wouldn't treat her right. And it was what it was. I thought she was gonna leave me. To be honest, I was like, man, this is gonna suck. She's gonna leave me because of these guys, and I'm just gonna be stuck here wrestling with them, pretending to be happy. But thankfully, I got away from that, and then me and Katie were just fine. But now, like, she gets treated fine everywhere. Everybody welcomes her. Thankfully, there's no issues
Yeah.
with her.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, when you said all that, it made me realize how similar, me and Robin and stuff. And Robin, from the first day OSWA helped us and everything. And I remembered a very similar situation. Some of the guys, some of the people were treating her a certain way. And I just couldn't believe that she stuck around. I mean, we have
Yep.
conversations nowadays about, she does have kind of a, how do I put it, a kind of a little bit of a bitterness toward the wrestling,
Yeah.
to put it that way, but she'll help me, and she's always been a great support, and what I really like is the fact that she allowed me to do it as well, even though I've kind of slowed down a lot with wrestling, and I just really appreciate her sticking, like you said, like I thought at some points that she was just gonna right off into the sunset, never to be seen again. But that those are keepers. Those are keepers. People that will stick by you through good and bad.
Yep. And the crazy thing, like when Kate comes with me to these shows, she's usually trying to help out. Like she'll set up chairs and move stuff around if she needs to. Like she doesn't just sit there and watch everybody work. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
she knows she comes in for free, so she might as well help out a little bit. So I never understood it, but I mean I also get why you wouldn't want to bring in people backstage. Like I won't bring her to the locker room. I won't do that. Like I'll have her on the
yeah,
outside where away from the hallways where people aren't changing and stuff like that. But I mean, crap,
yeah,
if somebody's got a headache or something, they're just gonna have to come in. It is what it is. But
yeah.
she knows how it
For
is.
sure.
She like once the show starts, she'll sit in the crowd and just watch. But she's not in anybody's way or anything like that, so it's nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
some
'Cause
woman back there where I'm like, okay, buddy.
yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen that a lot too. And yeah, I've actually talked to guys about that before. That's just one of those things, it's kind of like to me that and bringing another championship to a show,
Oh my
those kind of
gosh.
things. Those kind of things are the things that I think about. Now, I don't really for or against it, because we do it at OSWA. I mean, guys will go, can I bring my purple TV internet title with me, and it's like, okay, but yeah, that and people in the locker room, I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of like, need to stay on the other side of the guardrail and need to keep those belts at those promotions and stuff. But
I did it once with Rest America's Liberty belt because their
yeah,
show was once a month. So I was like, well, let me just defend it everywhere. I mean, it's a Liberty
yeah,
championship. It's America's championship, right? So I would
yeah,
ask promoters. I know I defended it once at your show with Kyle.
yeah, you
That was a
did.
fun
You
match
did.
too. But I brought
Yeah,
her everywhere. I brought it to South Carolina, North Carolina. I defended her everywhere. It wasn't just bring it for fun. Like I've
yeah,
won plenty of belts. I didn't just start bringing them up to random shows. Colbert was
yeah.
kind of like that too. People would just come in with random belts, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, okay, you got 7 belts, okay.
Uh-huh. I have this beer pong belt that I thought about just taking everywhere. I got it sitting in here in the other room, and but that's what it reminded me of. Like you said, if there's a meaning or if you can integrate it into the storyline, which that the Wrestle America belt when we did it at OSWA, it was integrated into your story
Yep,
as far as
I never
you
won.
haven't won. It was a way for you to turn face too, and it worked because that's what belts are. They're gimmicks. They're supposed to assist your story, not
The person that makes it. Like Curtis, man. I remember Curtis. I think the last time I had seen Curtis there, he came out with like 20 belts or something.
yeah, yeah.
He was like this, and there were just belts dripping on him. I'm like, this dude's such a clown.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
Oh, it's like when we did the podcast in he showed up and I saw the belts behind him. I was like, yep,
Yeah, he has like
that
40
would have
belts. It's
been
ridiculous. I don't even think that was all of them, too.
no, no, no. I didn't realize he had that many. I
Yeah,
didn't realize.
I've been in his room. I've seen them all. I'm like, holy cow!
Yeah,
Like, he buys all of them too. He loves belts.
yeah. It's like the only other person besides Curtis that I've ever seen had that many belts is Rick. When Rick
Yep.
would show me his collection, but my God, But then again, it's kind of like me and nerd stuff with him in wrestling. I mean, I get it. I mean, I've got like stuff for days here that just but that's just what I like, and but they like the belts and stuff.
I'm glad you
but
mentioned
yeah,
Rick too. I just saw
huh?
Rick showed me a picture like a week ago of his little gaming room and man cave, all that. I'm like, golly, dude, you got some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Like I remembered because I said this again. Like I grew up with Rick. I grew up.
Right.
Our parents were friends, and yeah, I remember me and him were just in the terms of like nerd stuff and Star Wars and WWF and everything. We were very similar, and it's like it's just fun getting to talk to people like that and getting to see their collections and stuff. And um, but yeah, I mean, but anyway, but yeah, when people, bring the belts to the shows, to me, the psychology sometimes kind of messes up because I learned this from Boulevard. James Boulevard was, every promotion is its own universe,
Yep.
and what happens at one promotion and something happens at another promotion, it shouldn't intertwine, but I sometimes feel like the belts make it. Does that make sense? They
Yeah.
make it intertwined because to me, when somebody brings a belt, I kind of think, oh crap, I don't want to crap on the belt. When you're thinking of like, what's going to happen in the match and the story and the show, it's kind of like, well, should I put them over because I don't want to crap on their belt? But then again, not everybody thinks like that.
Nah, I'd say screw, man. If you want to bring it, bring it. I'm just gonna put you under anyways. Bully's been adamant because I remember one time I actually tried to bring the Rest America belt there. It was like, no, man, we don't use their shows as disposal for belts. I'm like, oh shoot, okay. I think
Yeah, that
somebody
sounds
like
like
2 or 3 months ago they snuck in a championship during the show. He was pissed. He's like, why did he
uh-huh.
come out with that belt? I'm like, dude, I'm just sitting here on commentary. I don't know.
Yep, that sounds just like Boulevard. Yep, that's it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's each their own. Like I said, it just what belt was it? Can I ask you that?
It
Because
was one of the top dog shows. I'll tell you that much.
okay, okay, because that's that. Like I said, it's just I don't know. I remembered. I have to tell the story real quick. I remember when Curtis and Andrew Duckworth. I haven't seen Andrew in a while.
I haven't
His
heard
name was
that name
Brody
in a while.
Dillinger, and Josie Quinn. I think was his. He was the pale horse Josie Quinn. When him and Curtis, we had them feuding at OSWA against each other for our mid card title, the corporate title.
Right.
And then I remember next week they're tagging, going for the tag team championships, and I was just like, okay, and
That reminds me of something. So Justin
yeah,
Sane and Dexter, I think, they were either
yep, yep,
feuding at your show and
yep,
teaming at Royston or the other way around. And I would watch this. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like,
yeah. So it's like that psychology sometimes. It's like, what? And I remember talking to Boulevard about it, like, the psychology. He's like, nah, it's, they should do their show. You do your show. Don't worry about it and
yeah,
stuff.
that's a bully thing
But,
to say.
but I remember my trainers when, one of my trainers was talking, he'd be like, don't, you know, if you want to be a good guy here and a bad guy somewhere else, don't do it 10 miles down the road.
Right. No, I agree with
Cause
that too, because I mean, the fans travel. Like these indie wrestling fans, they will travel to watch.
yes,
So like for the most part, I'm a heel everywhere I go. Now when I go back to Rest America, I'm gonna be a babyface because crap, my dad ran your best friend Marv actually, he ran my leg.
yeah. Hey,
So
hey, if he's watching this, tell him if he needs his footage, I'll be glad to give it to him. I mean, I already made it. It's edited. It's on my computer right there. If he wants his footage,
I think it's a few years too late, brother.
yeah, probably.
But
I
I
mean, it
try to
was good footage too. Do
I
what?
try to stay like heel everywhere just to keep it easier on myself. There's
Yeah.
places here and there where I'll be babyface, but they're usually somewhere like out of the way. Like I might be a babyface somewhere in North Carolina. I don't think anyone from North Carolina is coming to Georgia to watch wrestling.
And
So
see that's what I think. Like I remember going I remember I went Dalton. Dalton, I felt like Dalton, Georgia was far enough away. I come out as just some weird bad guy character because they were like, I need you to go out there and enhance this guy because we're putting him in the main title picture. Okay.
sure.
So I just go out there and I go out there with the intention of being a baby face, but kind of like the Kurt Angle, like where he was intending to be a baby face, but then the crowd just hated him and booed
Yep.
him. It's what I
You
felt. And I was
so
like, well, it fits. So because that's one thing about like being around here in North Georgia. I tried to do the heel thing around here. It didn't work for me. Like no one, I couldn't get it. I don't know
you're
if
too
it was my
likable, man.
fault. Yeah. Like I tried to be a heel at my own show and so I learned a lesson. I was like, I don't think I could be a heel, so I have to go far away, but I'd love to try to be a heel before I finally hang it up. I'd love to try the true heel, not funny heel or a heel in my own backyard where people
Right.
cheer me. Not one of those. I want to be one of those guys to where I have to like exit the location in a trunk of a car because somebody's wanting to like, stab me with a knife or something.
I've had that happen to me before.
Really?
This happened in South Carolina.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, I've
yeah.
had people threatening to shoot me and all kinds of crap. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, like,
Uh-huh.
do we know it's fake? Like,
No, yeah, that is the one thing I've heard story after story after story, and it usually comes from South Carolina. It's
yeah,
usually like,
they
well,
believe it, man. They believe it there. I love it. Like, it's nice at
mhm,
times, but then there's certain times where, like, I really have to, like, sneak out the building.
mhm,
There's been times, like,
yeah,
I worked Jimmy Ward's show before, and Jimmy Ward, he used to run in Welford. And I don't know if you ever see me post, but it was like an outdoor arena. It was like WrestleMania. And I
okay, yeah.
remember jaw jacking at this little old lady, and she was saying, "I'm gonna shoot you after the show." And sure enough, I saw her. I'm like, "Ooh, let me get in the car real quick." Like I
Oh,
didn't even
yeah.
go risk it.
There was a I haven't seen her in a while, but there was a fan around here a little while back that we called her Granny, and we always knew, and she went to multiple shows, and we always knew if she was in the crowd, don't get near her,
Was it the
don't get near
25
her.
cent lady or 50 cent lady, whoever it was?
Believe so. I believe so. I remember everybody kept saying that's Granny. So,
Yeah, okay, yeah, dude, she's got banned from like half these shows, anyways. Like,
really?
yeah, no, she's a horrible fan. Like, I don't know why people were defending her back in the summer, but
Oh,
she's legit been
isn't she
banned
the
from
one that
shows.
didn't she pull a weapon on? Didn't she the one that pulled the weapon that one time? Or am I
I
thinking of
know
somebody different?
I think she threw like hot water or coffee at a promoter a couple years ago, if I recall. So I think I can't remember if she pulled a weapon, but if it's the same person we're thinking of, she just butt wild crazy, dude. Like some people just don't need to be at shows.
Well, like you said, they get into it so much. I remember when Dad and I used to go to the local shows, and yeah, people would get into it in the 90s, there were things that was said that aren't really said anymore in 2025, during in wrestling shows, like, just the, certain words. And I
Yeah.
remember those are my distinct memories of hearing just those people, if somebody come out and they had a certain sexual preference and, the F word, I'm not talking about the main F word, but the other F word,
I've
that
heard
was
that in the
said.
ring a few times too. I used to come out with
Yeah.
that shiny jacket, and man, they were letting me have it. I'm like, I got a wife in the crowd, dude. Like, I'm cool,
Yeah.
man.
They get into it. I remember this one time, like there was a guy that was really healing it up, and a guy that we were sitting with, all of a sudden just and there's no guardrails. It was, kind of like OSWA. There was no guardrails, just chairs in a gym. He slid right in the ring, and that guy slid out of the ring, and they ran around the ring, and everybody thought it was part of the show. But they had to catch the guy's name was, I think the fan was name was Keith. They had to like pull him over to the side and be like, hey man, you do know this is a show, right? I mean, because I think the wrestler started really getting scared.
You just
Because
reminded me of a thing from last year. I had
uh-huh.
that happen to me. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah, All Star Wrestling. I think they're over in they're like South Georgia. I think I can't remember
Yeah, yeah.
the exact town, but I think it was the last time I wrestled. I was wrestling Bull Buchanan's son Ben, and I was
Yeah.
making my way down to the ring. I'm strolling and strutting, And I did this thing where like I brushed my butt off at somebody that was trolling me, and
Yeah.
I'm walking away, and I feel somebody behind me, and I see it's the security guard. So I turn around to see why he's behind me. There was some fan that was trying to charge him, and he was calling me all these, homo slurs. I'm like, dang, dude, chill. Like, we got legit homo wrestlers in our locker room. That's not nice. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
get
not at
it.
all.
And literally, maybe 10 seconds later, I yelled at some old grandma. She was saying whatever to me, and she had these things, on her chest, but they were dripping down. I was like, you need to put those away. There's children here. She wanted to kill me.
I bet. I
I
bet.
got the whole place riled up before I even got in the ring. I loved it.
Yeah, they get into it. They and I and part of me appreciates the crap out of that because, like we talked about earlier, like just the wrestlers get into it, but it really does stem a lot from these old school guys, these old
Sometimes the
school
wrestlers
people.
have to take blame though, because like how we'll say how the fans will yell out all these slurs and everything. Like the wrestlers will do it themselves. I'm like, that's kind of on your bad now, man. Like if somebody on TV would see that, like you'd be fired. Like what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of TV, and I was talking about this earlier. I know that you had done work with the WWE,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Like one thing that I've always wanted to ask you is, what was that like and what was the process as far as, TV, like you said, you got your indie scenes, a lot of it's not filmed, but then you have your TV type of wrestling, which is basically all WWE is everything's for TV.
Dude, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. So like the way I got into it was so I got my first booking with them before I even hit a year in wrestling. So like I kind of skyrocketed, which kind of blew up my head at the same time. So like there was good
Yeah.
and bad to it. Which I mean
Yeah.
I'll admit, like I was a real jerk when I first started. Like I would just it was just more of who I'm surrounded and things I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You learned. But Marv is actually the reason I got the booking. So I'd seen him wrestle Veer Mahan or something on main event, and like the weekend before he got beat up by Brock Lesnar. So I just messaged him. I'm like, hey man, congrats. We work the same show. It's cool to be on a show with somebody that does that kind of stuff. And he messaged me back. He goes, so you're not gonna effing ask me for the email? And I'm just like, nah, man. I just saying congrats. His next message is ask me for the email. I'm like, okay. So I asked him for the email, and he sent me the email, and then he said, "Go f yourself." I'm like, okay. And I emailed them the next morning, and I got booked for the first Raw of 22. So that was pretty cool. And it was in Greenville, which is 30 minutes from where I lived. So that was cool
Yeah.
for me. So I did that and I got my first match while I was there too. But the process of getting there it's kind of hard. So like you got to send an email, then they got to take you in. But like you have to do a physical for certain states, and you have to do their own physical anyway. So it really doesn't matter. You got to do like blood work and all kinds of stuff, and then just getting there. Like if you've never been there before, it's nerve wracking. Like you got to follow all these signs to make sure you're going to the right place. You don't want to enter the wrong room because then you get yelled at. But other than that, man, like once I got used to it and like because they started bringing me back more and more, and like 23 and 20 or yeah, the whole year of 23, like I was going there at least once a month. So I just kind of got to the point where I just knew what I was doing, and they started knowing me by name, and I had a lot of fun. I learned more doing the TV shows and kind of watching how guys carried themselves in the back than I do at the indie shows. Like I learned a lot doing that, and I always tell people, I'm like, if you can get a spot as an extra, even if you're not doing crap on TV, you will learn something no matter what. Because there's guys like
Yeah.
Regal, they'll just come up to you and start just giving you lessons out of nowhere. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. What? Okay, you mentioned Regal. One, this is something I heard. Does he? I know the handshake thing is always a big deal, but
Yeah,
I
it
remember
is.
somebody telling me that he don't shake hands because he feels like he would have to shake everybody's hand or something. I don't know. I remember the story, but it kind of blew my mind a little bit because as the trainers is like, oh, shake everybody's hand and blah 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 blah. But do they? I guess what I'm asking is, do they follow those kind of those trainer old school type
It
rules
depends
up
on the
there?
person. Like with Rigo, I always shook his hand, but like I
Yeah,
started developing the habit now of just waving at people. So like in the locker rooms here at the indie shows, I'll literally walk and say hello to everybody and just kind of go about my way. And like guys get mad at me like, well, you're supposed to shake everybody's hand. I'm like, well, one, most of you guys pee outside and don't wash your hands. You know what I mean? Like, I'd
Yeah,
rather just say hello and keep on going. Like, I don't need to shake every single person's hand. Like, I think the
yeah,
rule is stupid. But it just depends. Like back there, like most guys, they'll just walk up to you and say hello. Like they won't offer their hand. It's like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? You know, stuff like that. How's life? But the handshake thing wasn't a big deal there. Nobody really cared. It was just, just don't be a jerk and stay out of people's way. They're busy.
yeah. Because that's what I heard like a lot. Like when you talk to people like yourself that have done those things, it's funny how all the traditions and all the stuff like that you get with a trainer and you're green in the business and they tell you all these little knickknack things that you got to do like shaking hands and respect and pay your dues, keep your mouth shut, ears open, all those things. And then you talk to someone that's been up there, it's almost like,
Yeah, they don't care.
and I've heard, do what?
They don't care at
Do what?
all. Like one of the things
Yeah,
when I first had my first booking was I got told by a bunch of people don't eat catering. And I was like, dang dude, okay. And like you have to be at the building by 1, but I always got there an hour early because I hate being late like that. So
yeah,
I got there. I always get there early, and I was nervous to get catering my first day there. So I brought like little protein bars and random snacks to eat. And I ran out of snacks by like 3 o'clock. So I was like, crap, I'm really hungry. And like at the time, I didn't know what I was doing yet. So I was like, I'm probably not wrestling. So I went to get me like I was sneaking like chicken on a little plate. So I walked into catering. I'm like this. I'm look so stupid. Like people were just watching me. I'm like, oh god, I'm getting heat. I'm getting heat. And like I'm eating chicken real quick, and I'm like trying to hurry out the rooms. And one of the referees stopped me. He ended up being the guy that was the ref for my match. He goes, dude, it's okay to eat here. I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble. He goes, man, we don't care. Like, you know how much food we got here? Like, you can eat all you want. And funny enough, after I got done wrestling Dijak, he literally told me to come get catering with him. I was like, all right, we're good now.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so yeah, when you're talking about like the catering, I mean, do they? And you just said something that caught my attention was you might get called, but you might not get to wrestle, right?
Dude, it's like playing the lottery, man. You got to be in the right place at the right time in the building. So,
Yeah,
like my first time there, and the way I got the match, like it was just pure luck. Like I literally should have played the lottery that day. So I met all the extras at like 2 o'clock at that point, and I
yeah,
didn't know anybody because I was still new to wrestling, so I didn't know who these people were. I didn't even know they were extra. I thought they were like stage crews, but one of the guys ended up telling me he was an extra. So everybody sat on the table at the extra in the extra area, and then probably around 3 when I went to go get catering again, they were all gone. I'm like, well, this sucks. I'm like, all right, it's just me. And like, I remember texting this group chat 4:15. It was 4:15 on the dot. I'm like, probably not doing anything. It is what it is. Like, I was upset at myself. I was like, this sucks. So I went to the TR person. I think his name was Zach. And I was like, hey, man, is it cool if I just sit ringside and just kind of watch you guys rehearse? I'm like, I'm just trying to study. I'm not, trying to be in anybody's way. He goes, oh, yeah, man, all the extras are over there. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went to the lower bowl and I see all the extras sitting in one spot. I'm like, okay. So I sat next to this one guy named Billy, and now me and him are really good friends. And I sat next to Billy. I'm like, hey man, just keeping it to myself. He goes, how long you been wrestling for, man? I'm like, I just hit a year. He's like, oh wow, man. He's like, I've been doing this for 15, 20 years, whatever it was.
wow.
And he had told me he had wrestled Vladimir Kozlov on ECW in like 2009 or 8. I was like, dude, I watched that right before I went to school. I was like, I do remember that. So
Yes,
me and him were talking for probably 10 minutes, and he started telling me all the ends of being an extra, like where to sit, where to be. And he told me the trick is always be where the producers are, which they're always at ringside at 3 and after for rehearsals. So probably talking to him for 5, 10 minutes. The same referee that told me it's okay to get catering, he called me down to the ring. I was like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. So I get down there and he goes, hey man, one of our guys is injured and can't work tonight. He's like, you want to work Dijak? Which, he was T-Bar at the time. I was like,
yeah,
shoot, yeah, the hell.
yes,
He's like, all right,
absolutely.
man,
Yeah,
just hang out here. So I was shaking at this point. Like, I'm freezing cold. Like, I was so nervous. And here comes T-Bar. I'm like, oh, like, this dude's big. Like, because at the time, man, like, I had no weight on me. I was 160 pounds. Like, I wasn't 190. And, a few months ago, I had muscle. Now the surgery sent me out. But, like, I
yeah,
was looking at this guy. I'm like, all right. And he just started, he talks to me like a person. He wasn't like, big leaguing me or anything like that. Like, we had an actual conversation. And, we called our match, and he wanted me to do stuff to him. He's like, yeah, man, we can go 10 minutes if you want. You want to get some stuff in? I'm like, no, no. I'm like, buddy, I want to know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I was smart enough to know, like, I'll screw it up if I try to get heat or something like that. I'm like, dude, I just want to slap you or something. I'm like, that's all I want. So we did the little chop thing at the start, and then he just
Yeah,
whipped my ass for the next 2 or 3 minutes, whatever. It was fun as crap. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
yeah. It's interesting because like you said, you really didn't know what was going on, and it was just more of just flying by the seat of your pants. But as you got into it, and as you kept going, people were kind of giving you more and more. And like you said, after you did that first time, you were able to kind of see how things worked, and everything was super easy, or
Yeah, you
not
got to
super
gain
easy, but
trust. That's the biggest
yeah,
thing. Like, you got to gain trust from these guys because, I mean, they're national TV at the end of the day. You know, they're the number one company in the world. You know, you have the other
yeah,
companies like AEW and TNA, like they're all good companies, but you know, WWE's always been number one. So like they gotta trust you, otherwise they just won't use it. It got to the point where like I would just sit there and like, hey man, we're gonna use you tonight again. I'm like, okay, cool. So I mean, stuff like that's
yeah,
nice. So it was nice to like be there every other week, whatever it was, and I would know normally I'm just gonna do something, whether it be the medic where I'm like stop, or security where I'm just getting thrown off by people or a fake cop. Like it was fun. I enjoyed it. Some people would make
yeah.
fun of me for it, like oh you're wasting your time. I'm like I don't mind having to check. Like I don't.
That's what gets me. Like you said, we're gonna reel back to what we said at the toward the very beginning. These guys just sit around thinking that, oh, well, maybe they'll just get lucky, and something will pop into my inbox without me having to do anything. But like you said, it all started with an email. I mean, you were talking, you emailed that guy, and he's like, "You want the email?"
Yeah,
And
it's all it took,
you
man.
reached
Just be
out.
a good person. It's all it takes. Just being a decent person.
Yeah, you reached out, and because like you said, it's a trust thing. You have to show that you are willing and you want to do it, and you have to take the initiative. But that's what always floors me about some of these guys. They just won't take the chance. And I don't know if it's a pride thing or a proud thing, but like you said, I mean, and you stumbled, you didn't know what you were doing with the catering, you didn't know, but then eventually, they looked at you and said, okay, let's bring him along, and got you a match, got you multiple matches. I enjoyed your fake cop stuff. Was it with Dominic at
Yeah,
WrestleMania?
yeah,
Was
it
it?
was at
Yeah,
WrestleMania, dude. In California too,
in California, and
dude.
like
We were in L.
like
I've never been to the West Coast, so that was legit my first time, and
yeah.
it's expensive out there, man. I ain't going back.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. My one of my family members, they did like a road trip, and this was like a couple years ago, and they were telling me just the gas prices,
Yeah, it's like
like
$7 a gallon at that time. It
yeah,
was. I'm like, oh no.
like the cost of living, like, and I know now everything's coming to the East Coast this way, and this is where the inflation and things going up.
Yeah,
I mean, heck, my property tax is way out of sight, compared to what it got when I first got my house. But yeah, I think about that. I'm like, at least our gas is still like 280 or whatever.
right.
It's not.
We're lucky.
Yeah, but yeah, that's cool. Like you said, people say you waste time. How can you be wasting your time? I mean, you got to go. I'm that type of person. I'm at the age I like experiences. I mean, I've got stuff, but I like it. I would love to do stuff like that. And I know I'm probably realistically speaking, not really wanting to be a world champion or whatever, but I'd be freaking happy with, like, security, fake cop spots, just being on camera. My God, even if it's like 2 seconds.
Well, like me and Curtis were talking about this. I think it was last week we were talking about it, and he was like, most of these guys that are mad at me or make fun of me for doing it are guys that literally haven't done anything outside of the state. Like it's all these big veterans that literally, like I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say it. And some people will take it that way, but like most of these guys that make fun, they really haven't done crap. And like some of these guys are great wrestlers, but in the grand scheme of things, they haven't done jack. Which it is what it is. Some of them got kids, life happens, or they just aren't good enough to get out. Not saying I'm good enough to get out. I just got lucky. But
Yeah.
like even Curtis, like I got Curtis on a WWE taping too. So I was begging him to go with me to a seminar. I'm like, I'm telling you, if they see you, they're gonna book you. And it wasn't me that got him to spot. It's his hard work that got him to spot. We worked the match with each other at this seminar, and I'll never forget. He sat down, and the guy's like, "Yeah, you're booked." I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I just got Kurt. And me and him got to go to SmackDown together, so that was really cool. But like I don't know, man. Like not everybody's gonna get signed. You know what I mean? Not everybody can go to WWE or AEW, TNA. Some people, I might not ever get further than what I'm at now. But it'll be cool. Like when me and Kate have kids, I'm like, yeah, man. When I was your age, I was doing this. I was, on TV or watching Raw with the kids, and be like, I've done this too. Like that'll be cool to show
Yeah.
them.
That is, and that's what it's about. It's like when Curtis and I talked about, wrestling really not being the center, or it doesn't have to be the center of everything. But I think it comes down to a lot of these guys, this is all they have. So they want to stay that big fish in a little pond. It's almost like they don't want to shatter their illusion of what they think they are. That's when I see a lot with these guys that have been wrestling for a long time, like you said. And it's the guys that trash you, bash you, are really the guys that are just so afraid to be bashed, I guess. They're afraid to be in that spot where, being made fun of and stuff. But I think it's worth it. I think, Forrest Griffin, I went to one of his talks one time, and he said this about MMA. He said it doesn't matter, all the criticism, all the work, it is worth it if you want to do it. And it's sad to see these, like you said, see these guys that want to make fun of you, but 98% of them never did anything. And
Yep,
it's
and I
sad.
blame it. I blame a lot of it like on the older guys in wrestling now, because they'll trap in the younger guys and tell them just stay with us. You're gonna be just fine. You're gonna get where you need to be. And years and years go by, and they're still doing the same thing. It's like, when is this really gonna pay off? Like, I can honestly say, like, most of the things I've done in wrestling have just been just me. Like, I didn't have anybody to put in a word for me. Like, Marv gave me the email, and that was it. Like, I had to send the email myself. I didn't have somebody to write it for me or message their guys and be like, hey man, can you give him a look? Like, I have a contact with every company that's like on that. Like I can get with GCW, TNA, MLW. Like I can just send an email and I'll be good. But
Yeah.
I don't
And,
know. I guess some people don't like it.
yeah. And what's the worst that can happen? If you send an email, what's the worst that can happen? They
They
say
tell you
no.
no, or they just don't answer. I mean, it is what it is, man. Like I've been told multiple times by everybody, and then eventually they bring you in. You just got to keep trying. Like some guys, I feel like they'll get their feelings hurt. Like if they get told no. And that's the hard thing of getting out of Georgia, because they're so used to everybody like, oh man, this guy, we got to get this guy. He's the main champ at, you know, yeah, yeah. And then like, you still draw the same fans and nobody really cares that they're there. It's like you hear pin drops. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me though. That's the bad side of me talking now.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I like it. But like you said, it really, it's consistency. You gotta. It all depends on how bad you want it, I guess. That really what it comes down to. And I've kind of just come to the conclusion a lot of these guys just don't want it that bad. Like you said, I think they want it, but
Yeah.
I just don't think they understand that it's attached to a lot of effort.
You
And
got to
if you don't,
sacrifice, man. You do.
yeah,
And some of them, they just don't want to do it. Like
no,
Curtis brought up the gym on your podcast. I see it all the time. Guys will think they're a big deal, but you look at them like, okay, uh, you look like you need to be behind the barricade, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
I thought it was funny because he said this to me on the phone. He told me he was going to tell you this too. Guys will show up every weekend to wrestle and, take it easy, not really have a fun match, but, just get the promoters money, But they skip the gym 5 days a week. I'm like,
yep.
I see it all the time in the locker rooms. I'll hear people, they're like, yeah, we don't have to do much, man. It's like, it's going to be an easy night, man. The crowd's already here, Like, I want them to come back, you know? I've wrestled in front of 20 people, and it's hard wrestling in front of 20 people. I'll say that much. It's hard to like give it your all, but I usually every match, even when I know it's like, all right, well, there's not a lot of people, I try to leave something in the match where they're like, man, I want to come back and see this guy again. Which brings me to me and Christian Taylor. So I was at Ingles and Hartwell earlier in the week, and I'm just shopping for steaks, and the meat guy, he's like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, hey. I'm like, do I know you? I'm like, have I worked with you or something? And he goes, "No, man, I seen you in Royston." I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. Thanks for recognizing me. That means a lot." And he
Yeah,
goes, "Yeah, I started coming at Santa Slam, which was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. This just recently." And he
yeah.
goes, "I love how you always put over that Christian Taylor guy. You're on mic. You're funny. And I looked you up. I didn't know you could actually wrestle too." He's like, "I saw you're hurt. I can't wait to see you back." He's like, "Me and my friends, we come just to watch you and Christian now." I'm like, "All right, brother. We're drawing at least 2 fans." I'm like, "We're
And
drawing now."
and that leads to what I said about paying you what you're worth, because now that guy's, it's what he said, he coming to see you and Christian. And like you said, it goes into, putting on a good show, because it's not just about them being there now, it's about them being there the next time and being
Yep.
there the next time. And a lot, like you said, a lot of these guys, I don't get it.
They just
I
want the
just don't, I guess,
graphic
not
and the
meant.
poster with them on it and be like, this guy is going to debut at such and such, big deal. And then it's like, okay, cool.
Mhm. It's like, what was question I had for you? What was the what was your lowest attendance, like, that you wrestled in front of? You said 20. Was there one that was
No, no,
lower?
there's been less. There's been less. I wrestled in a U-Haul parking lot once. That was, I like the promoter, so he's cool. I felt bad because he paid me good too. I think that might have drew, shoot, what was it? Maybe 10 or 15 people.
Mhm.
I don't think I've wrestled under 10. I don't think so. I would
Yeah.
remember that probably, but 10 to 25 is a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I
I think I
remember
saw
my
more
record.
U-Hauls than fans.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My record, 8 people.
Oh,
That's the
dang, you got the
yeah.
single digits.
Yeah. It was a Sunday show. It was NCW. It was over there at the Landmark. I wrestled Ashworth, and 5 of the 8 people were there to see him.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Dude, Astro draws, man. That dude
Yeah, he does.
deserves to get paid
Oh,
good.
oh gosh, yeah, yeah. But I remember I got so much crap. I was trying to be a good guy, because it was good on good, just a normal match. And yeah, I had to be healed because the majority of the fans were cheering for him,
It doesn't
because
matter
they
where
were
you
quiet.
go. Jacob,
Do
he's
what?
over everywhere. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. They
I'm
they
like,
were quiet before Jacob and I came out. They were quiet, and they got real. And I thought, okay, this crowd's gonna be dead. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. When I come out, boo.
Jacob's
Okay,
awesome too.
okay. Yeah. But it was fun, but like you said, it is a little harder sometimes when you can pretty much hear everybody's conversation clearly,
Yep. Yeah.
you know?
Yes. Yes. You start hearing them talk about your moves. I'm like, dang, shut
Uh-huh.
up.
Yeah. It's like it feels like training, It feels like you're there training with about 8 other trainees.
Brother, I never trained, brother. I played on the video games, brother.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all you need nowadays. You don't need to go do any hard work or train or do anything like that. But yeah, man, we're running out of time. But yeah, man, I appreciate, you coming on here. I really enjoyed having a conversation with you. I learned a good bit, about everything. Um
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me. I hadn't done a podcast in 2 years, so it's
yeah,
nice to just sit around and chat. We're about to go to AEW here, and
yeah,
we already went to the gym, so I knocked that out. So that's
yeah.
about the end of my day now.
You mean you go to the gym? You
Dude,
go
you'd
to
be
the gym 5 days?
surprised. Well, I'm trying to get back in shape now because I'm at dude. Like I got a belly now and stuff. Like
Yeah,
I used to have abs and stuff. So now I'm just like, I done ate so many like goldfish and Doritos and crap. Like now I'm just big, man. I weigh more, which is nice, which is the goal. Now I just gotta actually work out and get back in shape. And then tomorrow we'll go watch some hockey too. So hockey's been a big thing while I've been recovering too.
yeah. Who's your hockey team?
Dude, I didn't know crap about hockey until 2 months ago. As
Really?
far as yeah, I really didn't know. Me and Katie, like it was fun before, because I know we're out of time now. Me and Katie in November, we went to go to Greenville. I was like, man, let's go watch a hockey game. I used to watch this team years ago,
Hmm.
and we were sitting in the crowd, and we picked out 2 players that we were going to root for. We picked out 16 and 58, and 16 was Michael Robidoux,
Yeah,
58 is Tyson Fawcett, and dude, the first 5 minutes of the game, my dude started punching the crap out of the other team, like yes, yes. And Tyson is a short guy like me, but he's a stocky little fella. I'm like, all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
like these are our guys, so I'll go watch just to watch them play, and like we go to Athens now too to watch the Rock Lobsters. I mean, just
yeah,
30
yeah.
minutes from now. They're a feisty little group, man. If you haven't gone, like it's probably worth the trip for you.
Yeah, I need to go check it out, because I remember when the Thrashers, me and my brother-in-law used to go to a lot of the Thrasher hockey games
Yep.
back
The
when they were in
Atlanta
Atlanta.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was at Phillips Arena, whatever the arena is called nowadays. But like, I remember he had like season tickets, so we would go like 2 or 3 times a week, and it was just fun. And that's the one team sport, that and soccer are the one team sports that I enjoy. I'm more of an individual sports guy, but those are the team sports that I enjoy, especially hockey, because I don't know, it's just something about the atmosphere,
They move
something
so
about
fast.
uh-huh. Yeah, and I remember Rob and I went to the Gladiators game in Gwinnett. I think that's the last one I went to a couple years ago,
That's the
and
one at
that was
Duluth,
fun.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
is
be
that
going there
the
on next Saturday.
yeah, yeah. But man, hockey, yeah, hockey. I like hockey. Yeah, hockey's
Can't
really
go
fun.
wrong. It's a lot like wrestling too when you look at it, because like a lot of
Yeah,
these fights are scripted anyways. When you really think about it, like yeah, I could see the players be like, "Let's just go." I'm like, "Oh crap, this is a work, brother."
yeah, exactly. But yeah, man. Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, I learned a good bit. I hope everybody that watched this, get something from it. I guess what I took from it was stay consistent, don't give up, and screw the haters. Right?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, this you like I don't know what player said it. It was one of the basketball guys. You miss every shot you don't take. I never had a shame in just shooting my shot, man. It's either gonna work or it's not.
Yeah, exactly. It's either going to or it's not going to. But if you don't, like you say, if you don't try, it's not going to.
Can I get booked at your show, brother?
Yeah, yeah, you're booked. You're booked. I don't know when our next show is now that Snowpocalypse kind of killed our show.
Well, I'm pretty open, so just let me know.
Yeah.
I don't really
All
have
right.
to come back full time till March.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's the thing that I know we got to, we're out of time, but that's the thing that gets me about wrestling nowadays is all these guys work for all these promotions. So if your show gets canceled, it's just so hard to reschedule because they're already booked somewhere else already.
Yeah, no, I would say like if I had a show that like I last year I had a show cancel on me like 2 hours before. I was like, well, I'm open, and then literally I was booked in like Savannah within the next 20 minutes. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
So it was nice when
Like,
there's 100 promotions running in Georgia.
yeah, exactly.
Might be
But yeah,
200
it's
now.
just trying to figure it out because I remember when we ran OSWA ran twice a month. Gosh, but then again, most of the guys only work for us, and did it for fun, I guess. But yeah, nowadays it's wrestling changed. It's amazing how much wrestling's changed just in the last 13 years. So
Yeah, it's hard to get people to keep their word now. Like another show will come along, like, well, I'm booked on a better show, brother. Sorry. Oh, okay.
or so and so is going to pay me more. Will you match it?
I
No.
usually just
Well, what are you
ask. I'd
going
be
to get?
like, "Hey, man, is it cool if I take this booking? Like, it won't hurt my feelings if they say no." And most of the time, promoters will work with you. Like, usually
Yeah,
when I've done that, I just be like, "Hey, man, I'll just work your show for free next time." Like, it ain't a big deal to me. You're doing me a favor. Like, I'm a man of my word. I think I maybe called out of like 3 or 4 shows in my life, and that was on a bad streak. I think it was last year too. That was just I got on one of my Curtis moments where I started no showing.
oh yeah. I remember you didn't come to Disruptor that one time.
Well, what? There was a reason for that too. I went to work Bull's show, and I messaged them about it too. I was like, "Hey man, is it cool if I take this? They're doing like TV and stuff. It'd be cool to do." I was like, "Yeah, man, no problem." And then Curtis had told me what was said about me at the show. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I messaged and I was like, "Hey man, I just won't come back. No heat." But I mean, well, Clint, whatever it was, I talked to him about it at the wedding. We were fine. There was no heat about it. It just
Yeah,
it happens. Sometimes we get mad over stupid crap. So.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to disagree. It's just, but like you said, it's all in how you handle it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I shook his hand. I was like, "My bad, dog. Sorry."
Yeah,
So no hard feelings there. I love Clint too. He's the funniest dude. That's Santa
yeah,
Claus right there. You better be nice to
yeah.
Santa.
Santa Claus. Yeah, exactly. You got to be nice to Santa because you might not get any presents.
Dude, I got cold this year too. That was messed up.
Do what?
I got cold this year, man. I was mad.
Oh, yeah.
There's a note that said, "Don't no show disruptor next year."
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. You got the call says don't no show disruptor anymore. Well, cool, dude. Good thing again. One more time, thank you for being on here. Hey, we went over an hour. Crap.
Yeah, I mean, we could do this again. This is fun. I enjoy talking to
Oh,
you.
absolutely. I tell everybody that. I told Matt, I told Curtis, I've told even Knowles, I've told Cody Montgomery.
Hey,
I
hey,
just
you
like
don't
having
say that name in
conversation.
front of me.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
I'm just messing with you.
But yeah, man, like I said, there's just plenty to talk about. It's just like I said, just I won't say it, but just shooting the what, but just
We
I
need
you
to
know
have
what
an
I
a
thought?
hole of the year award.
Yeah. It's the last thing before we get off. Um God, it went right out of my brain. Oh yeah. I thought about calling these podcasts Sunday Night Heat just because of what you said. You're like, I'm gonna get heat, brother, being on this thing, and I'm like, because I just thought about it. I was like, because Sunday Night Heat's been gone for a while, you know.
Dude, I missed the show too. I love those jobber shows. Those are my
Uh huh.
favorite shows to watch. Like I steal a lot of
Those
their
were.
matches.
Yeah, just especially the ones before pay-per-views, you know, and
Yeah.
it was just it was an extension of the pay-per-view. And you know, and it was I don't know. I miss those days, but you know, I guess everything changes, I guess.
Yeah. Yoshi Tatsu versus Zack Ryder on Superstars. It's the greatest match you never heard of.
That is right. Gotta look that up. Is that on YouTube?
Dude, it's everywhere. You can always find it.
Okay. Just wanted to look up. All right, cool, dude. Hey, stay on here for just a second, and
Okay.
we'll end. I'm gonna go ahead and end the live thing, and we'll talk a little bit. All
We'll
right,
do.
good deal. All right, thank you everybody for watching. I hope to see y'all in the next one. Peace.